So keeping that in mind, I'm sure that most of us, we are aware of it, that India is a big GCC employer. My questions is more particular to what is there for me as a healthcare professional and a startup in this particular ecosystem. When I say the ecosystem is a GCC ecosystem, what is there for me as a doctor, as a healthcare professional, as a nurse, a pharmacist, and the startups. In keeping that in mind, I also get to see that the most of the early stage drug discovery happens in the headquarters, precisely in the European nations and America. And if you get to see in last 20 years, India has played a very good role in terms of integrating the data, playing with the data. We are in the R&Ds, analyzing the R&D data. But the big question what I have to this entire panel is, can India move from being in a support center to a true innovation hub? And how healthcare professionals can contribute for this transformation? Okay, so that's the baseline what I would like. And to support that, I have Mr. Ranganath from HP, and Dr. Sakha is an expert when it comes to the medical affairs. He's a medical doctor, and John has given all the introduction about him, so he would be able to validate what things are required. So with this, I'll straight away jump to John. What does it take for headquarters to trust an Indian GCC with innovation, not just in execution?
So thank you for the question, and I will start with the answer that, you know, for a company like Novo Nordisk, actually the development of high-end work in a GCC becomes an inevitability and a priority rather than an option. And why do I say that? Well, you know, those of you that know Denmark, it's a tiny country. The entire population is 5 million people. It's a third the size of this city. So for a global pharmaceutical company that's headquartered in a little place like Denmark, when you start to look for the next 100 medical doctors, the next 100 MBAs for marketing, the next 100 pharmacists for global safety, etc., there's an inevitability that you can't find them in your home country. And that's what started the journey for us, maybe 5 years ago, moving from a transactional center to now where we are. You know, we've hired 2,000 people in the last 2.5 years, all of whom have been peers to their global colleagues. So we've moved quite a long way out of necessity rather than choice. But there's further to go. We were just discussing before, you know, we have a tiny group in our organization which is research and early development. It's about a dozen computational biologists, computational chemists that are doing work that previously would be done in a laboratory, and now we're making the laboratory work thousands of times more efficient. And it's just a matter of time before this stuff scales. We can also do that work in Denmark, we can do it in the US, we can do it in the UK, but we're starting to scale it now in India because the talent is here, because the brain power is here, because the IT connections are here, and because in a GCC we're able to actually collaborate effectively, probably more effectively than you can in a corporate headquarters, because you're not stuck with all the silly politics and all that stuff. So, we need to foster a mindset of collaboration. We need to foster a mindset of curiosity. We need to foster a mindset of ethics and trust for a global company to continue to do more.
Thank you. I'm glad that we are mirroring in India. And with this, we'll step one step ahead. And Mr. Ranganath, my question to you would be, what lessons that we can learn from a tech player like yours, who shifted, with what I understand, you can correct me, it was a low-cost support center, to right now we say it's in a global innovation center. So my question to you would be that what are those best practices which we can adopt as in a pharmaceutical industry or the healthcare industry, and take the best utilization of the talent, and we march towards the aiming I aim for a drug discovery from this country. So my question to you would be more specific with practices from your organization or similar organization.
Yeah, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Really overwhelmed by the number of people speaking about medicine and stuff like that. So we come from the world where we speak a lot of bits and bytes. I represent Hewlett Packard Enterprise. It's an organization that was born making some oscilloscopes in about 86 years ago. From there on, there has been a great footprint addressing the medicines market, the pharma market and stuff like that. Agilent Technologies was one of the companies that HP had some years ago, even though it's not part of HP today. So there is that legacy that we bring to the table. But more importantly, if you were to look at the GCC footprint and how we have grown in India, we were one of the early adopters of setting up shop in India. I think we did that in 1989. And that was 1985 was the first GCC footprint in Bangalore. It anyhow hogs the largest number of GCC footprints across the country as well. So we were number in 1989, and we have a very large establishment here. And yes, we started off with a little bit of cost arbitration being the consideration to set up the capabilities and capacities in India. But over periods of time, we have developed on a lot of IP that we bring to the table. We have a lot of patents that come out of India. We do a lot of innovation that's now really represented on the product footprint that we have. But most importantly, I think significant contribution comes, especially in the world that we are speaking or sitting here today, of how technology can really help in augmenting the efforts on the field. I think all panels have really represented that technology is a key criteria in terms of how it helps in developing a faster medicine perhaps, or everything across the spectrum that we spoke of. Technology has its role. Having talked about it, how do you put technology into usage is the big question. For me, artificial intelligence is so harmonious with every activity that we do today. And it also brings together all other technologies into a result-oriented outcome, right? We had computing capabilities, we had storage capabilities. He spoke of drug discovery, which is high-performance computing. All of these technologies which are isolated, and you had then an application in the front in a doctor's shop. All of these were very, very siloed. But with artificial intelligence, you are able to bring all of that together, and that way it is a unifying force. And frankly, the other panels also mentioned, I don't think we have we're just scratching the surface of what we can do. Artificial intelligence can solve such big problems. And what we get to see is very small implementations of it. I think we can get into the core of it. Drug discovery is a great way of looking at how we can resolve problems before they occur. I understand that the drugs have been discovered for the various variants of COVID already now, in the lab per se. So that's where I see. So what this brings to focus is at a capacity center is to delve on the potential of you able to contribute to the global counterpart of yours. I think full stack development is happening in the country today. Instead of just doing siloed activities, you're essentially doing the related activities of everything together. So that is bringing in a lot of accountability. That is bringing in the leadership into the country. So they are having a seat in the table in their global counterparts. So that is, he mentioned about a couple of other compulsive events like having manpower and stuff like that, which is in abundance here for sure. But for other streams, apart from pharma, you had the option of just getting dictated. I think that has changed dramatically. We are seeing a resurgence of a GCC 2.0. It's just not about the capacity. It is also about capabilities that we bring to the table. You're having GCCs with a small footprint of 25, 30 people. And, that's what they're delivering. So it's all about what do you bring to the table? Are you contributing from an innovation perspective? And that's the transformation led by a backend of technology. There's no latency in technology today. Whatever is available in the US or in the Europe is available here, and with the option of scale and all that you learn out of scale.
Sure. So I think that I'll move to Dr. Sakha because you would be able to lay a better foundation for the next. Okay. So keeping the compliance and regulatory bodies, that's the biggest challenge what we have it before even we utter a word in our industry. Okay. So Dr. Sakha, question to you is that our Indian HCPs, I mean our healthcare professionals, are they ready to play the strategic role as per the benchmark standard being set up by Europeans and American companies? Or are we still, as an executional folks, we are?
I think on a personal front, to answer the question, first we need to understand the scope of GCC and what is the role played by HCPs in GCC, because simple language, GCCs are global capability centers in all the different domains, of which only 15% are the ones from the healthcare sector, and they are increasing every month, and government is supportive of all these things. Now, in a classical healthcare kind of a GCC, the bird's eye view kind of activities would be your technology support, then the R&D support, the clinical research, and supply chain management. Now, in the last 1 decade of GCC evolution, we have had it in 4 or 5 cities of India, like Bangalore is leading. Then we have Hyderabad, which follows. Bombay is neck to neck. Then Delhi and Pune, and a couple of them in Chennai, specifically for healthcare. Now, when it was started, all these GCCs are by the companies headquartered in US, 60% of them, and 40% are outside USA. Now, historically, when it all started with the idea, India was always a back-end service provider in all the GCCs. Now is the time, in last couple of years, that the multinational companies or the enterprise owners are considering why not bring in India at the forefront and enable India with the various capabilities and capacities India holds, and let the teams in India take the frontline decisions. Now, in the whole process of evolution and healthcare, the healthcare professionals as such were not playing any role, rather zero role. I mean, very practically. Now, probably when there is a drastic shift in the approach and performance of the GCCs as such, and when the Indian GCC counterparts would be enabled to take decisions, yes, for sure, healthcare professionals would play a key role.
My question is more specific at the value chain. Okay, so currently we've been discussing of the bottom part of the value chain. I would be very specific with the top part of it. Okay, towards the set of people who are in the drug discovery level, the patents. So that would be the best area for us to look into it. Okay, and what is required? Like, what is exactly stopping us? Not let's look at from the American and the European and the counterparts. What exactly they look at from the HCPs and this ecosystem, which builds that confidence that they come and we move towards the value chain.
I think I can answer it. I think John has already answered the question that what they're looking at, because from the talent front, India has, you ask for any kind of resource. When we say healthcare professional, then we may not purely consider doctors, everybody in that would come. I mean, everybody who contributes for GCP is a healthcare professional. So cost effective, technology enabled, and anybody who is there. So India provides whatever you ask for, you have that talent pool here, and that is easily available. Now, there are different criteria to it, that are you specially skilled to deliver a job or not, whether we are taking efforts for that or not, whether the company which is hiring you are taking any extra efforts to skill enable the resource or not. Second comes at what level of entry you are asking a resource, whether an early enteral, a middle management, or a senior management. So it will be different kind of criteria to be decided on making a decision whether you are just a contributor or you are a strategic decision maker.
Well, sounds good. John, you may be able to complement what he's saying. Add on to the question is, you being in a leadership role, what shifts are needed with respect to the training and the global exposure to build such kind of scientific leaders? I'm talking about scientific leaders when I say those are on the wet labs, not on the dry labs perspective.
Okay, I think I can add to what my colleague was saying, and this, ladies and gentlemen, might sound a little boring, but for years we've talked about soft skills, right? The ability to collaborate, the ability to speak up, the ability to have curiosity, to challenge the status quo. My observation having been here and actually been in Asia for almost 15 years now, is that those skills are core skills in order to deliver on what you're asking. You know, the scientific rigor is here. The ability to deliver on high quality processes and thinking is here. But we've got to educate our teams and our leaders to be able to utilize what we used to call soft skills and make them absolutely core. And then you earn a seat at the table, and then high-end work comes, and then the trust is built. And then also from the leaders specifically, cross-cultural leadership is really important. Gone are the days of hierarchy and power and control kind of leadership. We've got to get ourselves out of that, because that's not how foreign companies are working these days. We're working with collaboration, we're working with trust, we're working with engagement, and much less about hierarchy. I hope that helps.
Yep. So, on a funny note, I just want to add here, allow artificial intelligence for that, because you have to ask all the questions. And for true Indians, it's going back to Gurukul almost. You ask the Guru and he gives you what it is. And you know, when you're putting a prompt there, you know, definition of the prompt also definitely defines how the answer comes through. So it's again like the Gurukul style, where you go and ask the right question for the Guru to tell you what it is. So that's artificial intelligence, perhaps changing the nature of you know, what we are. We don't ask that many questions. We are almost taking what's being told, right? And to that, artificial intelligence is a solution.
Well, sounds good. Pretty rapid fire question to both Dr. Sakha and Mr. Ranganath. Tech GCs often the tech companies use this approach called sandbox, wherein we believe in experimenting and failing fast. Okay, is that kind of a mindset possible in pharmaceutical industry despite being a strong regulation?
No, my answer is no. You cannot have hire and fire ASAP attitude. You have to invest time in a right talent and give them opportunity to perform. You cannot say that you're perishable, that just come, you're not performing, then in 3 months you are going to disappear. So I think in rather pharma as well as healthcare industry, while hiring, you have to invest time, you have to enable them with skills and ensure that they stay back. On the contrary, the current talent pool, I think Gen Z is really eager to move faster on the monetary front with the assignments, with the perks they get. But I think I come from the generation I believe in stay back, learn, build relationship, and grow slowly.
I'll come back to you.
So my viewpoint from a technology standpoint is that most of the horizontal skills is something that people acquire, and that is something where a sandbox can really help. You experiment with various models, figure out the efficacy of a model and stuff like that. But when it comes to including that in the pharma industry, I think, you know, somebody just mentioned this, the most important thing in an artificial intelligence journey is the data, right? And people now want to have their data, do independent usage of data so that they get the insights that are very unique to us. So in that context, I think, you know, the sandbox approach might kind of help you in the initial stages, but if you have to deliver value for your organization using the same tools, I think you will have to look at something that's more concrete, because your data is more valuable. And data itself, you know, I don't know how many of you know that only 67% of data is put to usage in an AI world. The remaining is still going out. It's like steam. It just goes off. It's not, you're not going to get that back again. So it's important that you plow more into the models. Then is when the trust factor in an artificial intelligence device will increase. You know, we trust Google Maps only after 12, 13 years of its usage.
My question is that when COVID was there, didn't we scale up? Didn't we cross the phases, the timeline of the discovery and the launch? So is that kind of a mindset possible? Okay, we can quickly, you know, yes, no, from a regulatory aspect.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's what I was telling.
It is a situational relationship.
Yeah. So what if I also get digital therapeutics in the drug discovery side? Again, we can reduce the timeline of the drug launch, right? Am I correct? So,
yes.
So that's how your integration. So John, you want to say something?
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to the sandbox discussion, we do it. But if you're a startup wanting to engage with a multinational global 100-year-old pharma company, you're going to have to be patient, because our scale up is going to be very, very slow and very careful and very deliberate to be sure that our 100-year-old reputation is not tainted by just a tiny bit. So we'll sandbox things, we'll investigate things, we'll try things, but the scale up might take years. And in our experience working with some startups, you don't have the patience for that. And so it's very important that we find a kind of shared purpose that we can work on from day one.
Wonderful answer. There were a couple of startups were yesterday asking me that can I help them to connect with some pharma company. So you got an answer. You have to have a patience. Okay. Then last question to both of you. Will Indian startup, which is emerging in AI, we are doing drug trials, diagnosis, how pharma companies can collaborate with meaningfully with these startups? So do you think there's a meaningful, I'm talking from a pharma aspect, in general pharma, no GCC.
I think we'll first hear from Mr. Ranga and then I'll.
Yeah, I'm not the guy in that context, but nevertheless, I think it should be possible for any startup organizations because they are now the R&D for the country, if you were to look at it, right? And collaboration is something that everyone as an organization today are looking towards. Now, we also collaborate with a lot of startup organizations to build technologies which are adjacent to whatever we do. So that process should be okay. For pharma, I really don't know.
Sure. I'm just seeing minus 2.16. So I'll end up with last question to John here. A piece of suggestion to the ecosystem here. Where is Indian talent best positioned to lead, okay, in pharma GCC? According to you, where are the gaps you are seeing, okay, where we can go about fulfilling it, okay? That's what my one-liner answer would also be there. I would be happy with it.
Yeah, I mean, I think I touched on it earlier. I would really invest our energy in leadership skills, in cross-cultural leadership skills, influencing skills, and I would encourage, at least what we're doing in our academia collaborations, I would encourage bringing these organizations together so that what we take from academia in terms of talent is, if you like, oven ready to deliver for a global company.
Thank you. Dr. Sakha, I would like the end note from you. Can India become the base for global MSL and medical strategy as a hub? Again, my question is, can we be a global MSL and medical strategist hub? And if yes, what is required?
I would say yes for sure. We are late entrants. For 50 years back, it started globally. We are 10-year-old in the strategy and MSL front. MSLs are doctors which go and meet doctors. How? One is that we need a strong academia industry partnership. Without that, it will not be possible. Second, we need to have skill enhancements platform which are more specific and dedicated to healthcare industry. Third, the career ladders for the aspiring talent should be well carved out. It shouldn't happen that someone has entered, but then he's lost in the space that where his career is headed. Fifth or fourth rather, would be that the financial parameters here or packages should, if not at par with the global standard, should be closer to that. Otherwise, people think India is just a low-cost country and drag and pull the resources as per the rates they would think of. So on this large conference platform with international delegates like John, I would love to say, since all my life I worked with MNCs, that yes, we are, but not closer to what international counterparts are getting the monetary compensations and all. So probably, a time has come that we talk highly, India has a talent, India has technology, India has everything. But consider, are you paying Indian counterparts to that extent? So we should think that when we are really considering making India as a global hub for GCCs.
Well, thank you very much. So I would like, I would say there's a lot of open-ended questions still remains. Reason because it's highly ethical. The industry is unlike other industry, we cannot come out with any innovation in 1 day or 6 days on a month. Second thing is that it is highly regulated, and there's a legacy. So when we say legacy means it's like, let's say, no orders, 100 years of legacy. So they go with certain principle, trust in mind. But saying that, what I really understood is also that there's a great scope, and we emphasize on the soft skill and from a leadership role as well. So that's why I would like to end the session. It's a big, I'm not able to get to see the stress which other speakers are getting it had been asked by me. Well, thank you very much, John. Okay. Thank you very much, all of you.